This is the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching and publishing services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by Luciane Serifovic, author of Handle It, Get It Together, and Finally Have It All. Luciane, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
You ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
All right. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Well, I think the best thing is to really think of the biggest struggles that an author may be facing. And everyone struggles with different things. And for me, I really had a hard time getting started. So identifying what is it that is making you struggle, and then finding someone who is really good at whatever that is to help you overcome those obstacles. So for me, I really could not even get started. So what I did is I had someone interview me, and I recorded the interview. And basically, I took the interview and I had the interview through a software to transcribe that interview into the first segment of my book. And that helped me a lot because it just gave me the foundation to get started. And then, finding someone who have done it and have gone through the process of writing a book before that is willing to help you, I think is a great strategy to overcome and a good advice for someone.
Well, you just touched on one of my favorite tactics. I absolutely love what you said, because this is what I suggested to my clients, especially my business owners who they don't have time to write a book. So what I tell them is download the Rev app, hit the record button, think of 10 different talking points, expand on each of those, create around 10 to 12 minutes of audio, and you have a chapter. And then just hit the transcribe button. I think Rev charges like $1 a minute, and it's such a great way to do that. And then you also mentioned the Q&A format, which is a format that a lot of people that are ghostwriters utilize, which is another great tactic, especially if you want it to be even more conversational. So those are great tactics that you shared with us.
Great. And what is that website again?
It is an app called Rev, R-E-V. And then you can actually go to revrev.com. It's actually funny. I have people ask me, do you have a sponsorship deal with Rev? It's like, no, I just believe in the product. And that's one thing I always tell my clients. Simplicity is key. And when you have something like that where you can just hit a button and then hit transcribe, it just makes things so much easier and really simplifies the process. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, thank you. I wish I knew about that before. It was hard for me I did a lot of research to find something to use, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, the great thing is you can use it for book number 2 and number 3 and book number 50 as you progress with that.
That's great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, let's transition to the other side. Let's talk about what you feel is the hardest parts about getting published.
Well, I think really for me originally was really not knowing what to do to get published. And the time of finding those details on what would their next steps, from having other people review the book to the format, and then even to the details of the book cover, and then finalizing it with the book launch. I do find that to be the hardest part because there's so many components to it, right? It's not only about writing the book. It's also making sure that the format is going to be away. What's the size of the book? And, how is the cover? Is the cover matching the thickness of the book? And these little details, most of the time, people don't think about. And I do believe that's one of the hardest part.
Absolutely. And also actually creating the right cover. And your cover, I was very impressed with. I love how you had the business side behind you, and then you had the gym, because you talk about a lot about balancing and having it all. And I thought your cover in particular was very creative.
Thank you.
And I think that's one of the hardest parts, is just because the thing is, as you know, the cover is what's going to get the attention and get people to the page. And then it's your description and how you sell the book. That's what's going to help convert that into a sale.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
which transitions nicely into our next question because it's all about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that worked well.
Well, I think for me, what worked really well was personalizing it, right? Because we all have a sphere of influence and a database of people, which essentially are names, first name, last name, email, phone number. And what worked for me was really reaching out to those people personally, even if I use some technology to do it on a mass level. Meaning I've sent people an email blast notifying them of the book and the book launch. I had about 130 people show up to the book launch, which I was very pleased with because I really only asked everyone one time. But it was personal, because if you just send any type of communication, if you just send it and it's completely massive and it does not have the person's name on it, they tend to not read it. So anything you do when it comes to the book or to the book launch, getting people to know about it, if you can do it on a personalized level, I believe it's the most effective way.
Absolutely. Now when you mean show up to the book launch, are you talking about the day the book launched on Amazon? Or are you talking about like for a book sign-in?
Both.
Oh, nice.
Both.
Excellent. And you bring up the best point. It's all about having those Raven fans, because my philosophy with that is I'd rather have 1,000 Raven fans than 100,000 fans that might or might not be interested. I'd much rather have that core of people that are going to support you during your launches.
Absolutely. And listen, I always say anything you do in any business, you have to be a celebrity within your market, right? So I pretty much did all of the above, meaning I put it on Facebook and I did a Facebook Live. That captured a lot of attention because it really targets everyone's inbox, or at least their phone, whenever someone goes live. So the Facebook Live, the email blasts, the social media posts. So I pretty much put it on Instagram, Facebook, and every place where there's people that you got to let them know about it, and you gotta not be annoying about it, but you have to be aggressive.
Yeah, persistence is key. It's just like when you get book reviews. You always have a sequence of 3 or 4 different messages going, hey, want to check in? And a few days later, hey, just want to see if you had a chance. Because that's one of the biggest things. And I think it takes people out of their comfort zones a little bit, especially those that are a little bit more introverted. But you have to
Yeah.
be persistent for sales and for reviews and to really make things successful with your launch. And you really do have to get out your comfort zone with that.
Yes. And if you can't do it, hire someone to do it for you. you know Why not?
Hey,
Work on your strengths.
I'm a book publisher, and you're preaching to the choir. Well, let's talk about your favorite book. So, what was your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
My favorite book of all times is Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I know that's a classic, but the reason why I love that book so much is because of the story format and how he shares different stories. And it was a huge eye opener for me. And it was during my life as I transitioned from being a young woman to an experienced woman. When you are basically always so worried, especially when you're in sales, you're so worried about selling yourself and you're so worried about telling people how good you are. And in fact, it's not the most effective way. It's really turning that around and focusing on the other person that's in front of you, asking them questions, but not being fake about it, really being genuinely interested in other people and asking them questions about who they are and what's important to them. It was such a life changer, and I recommend every single person to read it just because it changes the way you think when you're having a conversation. And I remember growing up, whenever I needed to network, and I think in any business you have to network, right? I would go and I would be so worried about, okay, what am I going to tell them about me? And the moment that I changed, and every person I met, and I was very curious about their life and who they were as human beings, it completely changed my career. And I do recommend it very much.
Yeah, I mean, it's networking 101. That's the biggest thing that I think my big takeaway is too, especially when it's more in person networking. One of the biggest things I've learned, especially this past year with being in my local chamber of commerce and also in my Rotary Club, it's all about making it about the other person and building that relationship. And you don't even talk about your services and your different things that you can do to help. It's mainly just about building that relationship. And then it's like karma, it rolls back in where they're going to ask, well, hey, what do you do and how can I help you? It's just a beautiful way to build those relationships and to help grow your business.
Absolutely. As long as you have to genuinely want to know. And I
Yes.
think that sometimes that comes with maturity, but you don't want to just be asking questions just to ask question and not make eye contact and just be
Hmm.
looking around as the person is telling you about them. It's really being curious because it doesn't matter who they are. They could be the person who is cleaning the bathroom. It could be the person who is the CEO of a company. Every single person has something or knows something that we don't, and we can learn from them. And it's just having that mindset that I think will change. But all of that came from that very, number one book that I appreciate that I've read.
Yeah, absolutely. Treat everyone fairly and treat everyone equally because you never know who you're going to be dealing with down the line. So that's always my deal. I care about the person, not the title.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about your favorite quote. So, what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is "Go for it." Short and sweet. And the reason why I love it is because I've learned in life that our brains have been naturally created in a way that is to protect us, right? So whenever we want to do things in our lives, our brains are often thinking, okay, that's a risk. That's something new. That's something that maybe I shouldn't be doing because there could be consequences. So our mind could be our biggest enemy, and it's constantly looking for obstacles. Okay, no, this is danger zone, danger zone. And sometimes in life, we just have to go for it, because if you really start overthinking too much, then you just won't get things done. And, publishing a book, there could be a million reasons. Oh, what people are going to think. What if there are typos? Or, there's a million things you could think about. Why would I put myself out there? There's always something that could go wrong. But if you just don't think about it, just go for it. You can accomplish a lot in life. And I've accomplished a lot just because of that quote, that, going for it should be something that I think we should always think about, and in order to accomplish a lot in life.
Yeah, it reminds me of one of my favorite quotes by Lao Tzu, where they talk about the journey of 1,000 miles begins with your first steps. So I couldn't agree more with you.
That's excellent.
Well, Luciane, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
Well, if they just type in my name, I have a domain and a personal website, and in there you have the entire picture of who I am as a person. Real estate, fitness, and author is pretty much my three, passions. And my name will be LucianeSerifovic.com. That will be my full name, and that's the best way to find me. And I look forward to hearing from whoever wants to reach out.
Excellent. Well, Luciane, I want to thank you again for being a guest on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.